I actually have a question about Martel Irby.
Yeah.
What does he bring to the room, to the group?
Well, first of all, Marcel Irby is a generous, gracious, awesome, fantastic. I mean, there's so many things you could do to name this kid, but he's fantastic. You know, he plays multiple positions, but he brings the energy and exuberance that you would love into a football team. But when you see him out there at practice, you'll be able to spot him real quickly because he brings energy to everybody.
What do you know about what happened? Apparently, he retired from football briefly. Are you aware of that at UCLA?
No, I just know that he was in transition, you know, trying to find a new location and finding out where he would possibly be able to go. You know, any connections that was, you know, previously made in the past with Coach Nansen and things like that, he found a new home, you know, but he was in transition because he already graduated and things like that. That's where it was a little gap in where he was going to end up next.
Have you been able to form a connection with him off the field, or just pretty much know him just a little bit on the field from that brief time yet? Or
Oh, absolutely. Off the field, relationships is what gets things done on the field. So, absolutely. Fantastic kid. Great story. Grew up in the San Diego area. You know, he pushes himself to be the best that he could possibly be, but transformed his body since he's been here. Passionate kid, you know, eager to learn. You know, Coach McKenna and him have a great relationship as well. So, you know, it's definitely a relationship that we're trying to impact off the field that can only help us on the field.
And then with the other star position, Stukes, how do you think that he's been adjusting into that new role so far?
Yeah, well, you know, whenever you're going from outside to inside, there's new things that you got to learn and things like that. But Stukes is phenomenal, man. He's a cerebral kid. Coach McKenna's doing a great job with helping him out as well. But, you know, Stukes, he's played football before. You know, and at the end of the day, good players are going to make plays no matter where you put them. You know, and so that's what we're expecting out of Stukes, but he's handling it really well.
When it comes to the Pac-12, I mean, we can't really sugarcoat it. This is a conference of quarterbacks. You have a number of quarterbacks in this conference that could be All-Americans, at the very least, you know, all-conference type of players, including the reigning Heisman Trophy winner. How much fun has it been to incite competition in this cornerback room, saying, you know, you guys are going to have to take care of these guys. You're going to need to shut these guys down if you want a chance to win in the Pac-12.
Absolutely. You know, but before we focus on what other teams are doing, one of the biggest things we focus on is the competition within the room, because nobody's position is safe. And when you have competition amongst each other, that naturally drives them to be the best. Now, of course, you can absolutely add in the nugget of a Heisman Trophy winner. You add in the nugget of, you know, potential Heisman Trophy candidates as the season goes along. But yeah, this conference is dynamic at the quarterback position, and they know that, and the receiver position is as well. So not only do we have to deal with the quarterback, we have to deal with really good wide receivers as well. So, you know, it's an all-around aspect on the offensive end in this conference, and every day they come in to compete with each other, but also know what's coming up during the season.
When relating to that competition between the corners, you know, there's always that idea that someone's got to beat somebody else out, but there's a lot of guys that are trying to go ahead and build each other up.
Yeah.
You know, a guy like Trayvon Stukes, you know, he's been here through some of the lows, some of the highs of the program. How much fun has it been to see him kind of take on a leadership role to help build these guys up to this is the level we need to play at the University of Arizona?
Well, you know, he's one of the guys that has been playing and played at a high level for us, you know, and so of course you lean on his expertise as long as, you know, Hunter Mountain, you know, Gunner as well, you know, and you looking at, you know, at IT as well. You know, all those guys have played quite a bit, and of course we're trying to come in and raise the standard and expectation amongst the defensive back room as well. So of course it's raising their standard as well as, you know, elevating their game to take the next step. But absolutely, you know, the competition level, it drives everybody, you know, because now the guys that you were counting on that have played in previous years, they got to step up because the young guys are waiting their turn, but they're eager to get on the field as well. So it's great as a coach because now it forces, you know, possible, you know, rotations that you probably usually not used to in the secondary. But hey, everybody that we feel like can contribute and win us games, they got to be on the field.
Coach Manson mentioned the veteran savvy of the entire defense. You know, 85% of them are probably upperclassmen, or at least have been here for a full year.
Absolutely.
How much of a benefit is that for the cornerback room in regards to communication? We always know communication is a big part of the back half of the defense.
Yeah.
So having that kind of leadership and that veteran savvy in the back end, how's that been so far showing up in the early part of practices?
Well, it's injecting, you know, a lot of energy when you have communication, not only on the field but also in the meeting rooms. Because communication happens a lot in the meeting rooms to make sure we're all on the same page. You know, so of course having that relationship where kids feel comfortable enough to be able to speak, you know, to a coach and say, I understand, I don't understand this, that helps as well. And because they're confident in who they are as a player and as a young man, you know, they feel okay to be able to talk, so we can talk issues out in the meeting room, you know, when we're all together or when we're separate. So, you know, the communication is definitely helping. You know, it's going to help us not You know, to have too many people running free in the secondary on game day, which makes everybody upset. You know, so communication, as long as we know what we're doing when we're doing it, then it just leaves us all out there individually go make plays. You know, but the communication is nowhere near where as coaches we would like it to be. Of course, we always have a high bar, but it's getting there. We're going to keep pushing towards it.
Have you seen any of Dylan Wyatt's tape at Poly, and just what have you seen from him? How do you think he's going to fit into this cornerback role in the competition between him and guys like Charles Yates and other guys like that?
Yeah, well, one thing about Dylan, you know, he started off at the University of Illinois, is where he first started at, and played quite a bit there before he got injured, and then went to Cal Poly. So I watched tape from him at Illinois as well as, you know, at Cal Poly. So I've been watching him throughout his years, seeing the growth that he's been able to have. But you're getting a guy that's coming in trying to make a splash at the higher level, you know, and really trying to prove himself back at that stage that he once was. You know, so he comes in and he brings the I'm in the meeting room all day mentality. You know, he's on his next step out. I mean, he's here and he's got to compete, but he knows I got a short window to be able to play for this team and put on that uniform. So, you know, he's really raised, you know, make sure no one in the room is complacent, which is great, and it's fantastic they have, because that's another veteran leadership that for some kids, you know, you got Efi back, you know, you got Bobo back, you know, you got those young kids back, but they haven't been in there for 3 to 4 years yet, you know, to really know what it takes to be successful and be able to, fortunate enough, be able to play at the highest level if possible.
And how do you attribute that work ethic of just coming from smaller schools like with Yates, Pierce, and then Wyatt, Poly? Like, how do you, like, just coming to this new program, just a bigger school, like, how do you think that helps just with the competition and just trying to make your name in this competition?
Yeah, for them, you know, their work ethic is, you don't never have to question it. You know, they coming from a situation where they're trying to step in and prove themselves. So of course, when you know, one guy in the room sees another guy that's very hungry, he's got to raise his elevation to play as well. So it's just always great, but you got to be able to be smart enough to add the right pieces, not just any piece to the group, because it can mess up the dynamics and the relationships that you have in there. So bringing in a kid that's humble, that's hungry, but also transparent with the rest of the group, and as well as sharing his knowledge from his playing experience from previous years, 5 to 6 years of playing experience, being able to bring it into our room as well to help those young guys has been fantastic. We're a no ego room. You know, we're a situation where we want everybody to be able to share their knowledge, because competition can either wedge a group or it can bring it together, and that's what our group is doing.
Just one question about Traden. You know, obviously Jed fought enough with him to bring him to Pac-12 Media Day.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of weight. What makes him a solid player on the field?
On the field, he is very cerebral. He's very smart, so he understands the scheme. He understands motion adjustments. He understands route concepts. You know, he's your all-around player. You know, he's what you would look for in a Mike Backer. He's what you're looking for in a boundary safety or anything like that as well, just with his football knowledge. And so for him, he can help out a lot of guys on the field, because sometimes you need that on-the-field coach, you know, that's able to help out the secondary and things like that. And he brings that aspect. But also, too, I mean, off the field, the guy is phenomenal, man. I mean, there's not a better kid that walks around with a smile. You know, him and Irby will light up a room with a smile, man. I wouldn't be surprised if you've seen him on dentist commercials soon. You know, those kids are phenomenal, great young men. But Traden Stoops, he just does it. He checks every single box that you look for in a defensive player.
How did were you